right, hello wine drinking people. We're back with more of what I've had to drink yesterday, and this is our 2010 Burgundy tasting. And a lot of great wines went down here in the store last night. The Schaefer, the Roy Estates, some pretty decent Bordeaux's from the Lafite family, and then a 2010 Burgundy tasting with Louis Jadot wines. Well, this is an education in terroir whenever we do this. One producer, the same grapes. Burgundy is all Chardonnay for the white, Pinot Noir for the red. Well, for the most part, there are some exceptions. You have Beaujolais Gamay, which some people think is part of Burgundy, and then there's this white grape called Aligote. But for the most part, and for this tasting, all the wines, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, all from the same vintage, 2010, all from the same producer, Louis Jadot, who is, a negociant éleveur. They buy fruit, they own their own vineyards, and they make wine for other domains like the Domaine de Magenta that we had, the Puligny Montrachet, and all of the wines on the table outstanding. We showed the whole range of Burgundy from village wines to Premier Cru to Grand Cru, and only 1% of all the wine in Burgundy is Grand Cru, about 11% Premier Cru, and the rest, simple peasant wine, village wine. But in a great vintage like 2010, you can keep village wine for 10 to 20 years in your cellar. Yes, these 2010s need time. And I opened them up. I gave them an hour to decanter. I should have opened them up first thing in the morning. They really did need all day. Just at the end of the tasting, as they sat in the glass all night, did they really start to open up. And we started out with a little simple wine, the Cote Village. This wine is, well, it's kind of a broad appellation. It covers 2 districts of the Côte d'Or, stretching from Marsanne to Courgologne. I don't know if I said that right. I failed French class in high school and in college. But the AOC Côte de Nuits Village extends from Brochon, Fixin, Prumeux-Prissy, and Combe-Blanchien and Courgolin. So rather large, broad appellation, making a very good wine in this case, as a lot of the Bourgogne Blancs, Bourgogne Rouges, and the simple entry-level wines are outstanding in 2010. This wine's got some lovely whetstone minerality, lemon, green apple fruit, hints of toasty oak spice, vanilla, cinnamon. Very lovely and focused on the palate. That lemon and green apple fruit showing through, a really clean finish, a little bit of wet stone-like mineral, and a hint of that spice from the nose. A really nice bottle of Cote de Nuits Village Blanc. Pernod Vergelès was next. This is a Premier Cru wine, and Pernod Vergelès can be one of the greatest value in Premier Cru. So this wine is $32 a bottle on sale. Be hard-pressed to find Chassagne, Meursault, and Puligny, the 3 great villages for whites. Pernod Vergelès would be, I think, just below those in terms of quality. This wine had a lovely amount of minerality here, that limestone, kind of vanilla, cream, fresh green apple, and pear-like fruit, really focused and intense aromas. Classic Pernod to me. Literally lovely richness on the tongue, really smooth and round and fat. That's what you get from a wine that's got a lot of that minerality to it. Drinking nice even now in its youth, but this wine has got potential in your cellar. Give it up to a decade, possibly. Excellent juice, this 2010 Pernod Premier Cru Clos de la Croix Perrier. Next up, the Puligny Montrachet La Garenne Duc de Magenta, and this wine is was a wine of the night for some people, even with all the other wines on the table, and the extra stuff that we opened up needed some time to open up. It had a lovely white peach and kind of lemon citrus fruit, that chalky limestone minerality, the seashell, bottom of the sea floor kind of minerality note showing through in this wine. A firm hand of oak, a bit more oak than the other wines, but you really didn't notice it as much because you had so much of everything else really playing an underlying role in this lovely intensity on the palate. This wine needs a little bit of time to unwind, but lots of everything, minerality, acidity, and a lot of fruit. Most excellent juice. I'd love to taste this wine in 10 years. All right, well, the reds, we started out with a barrage of village wines, starting from the south here, Mercure, and moving our way up north to Pommard, and then Nuits Saint-Georges, Von Romanet, and to our Grand Cru Daddy the Charmes, Chambertin 2010. The Mercure, very light, but had a lot of nuance to it. Had this light red cherry fruit, some toffee smoky notes here, really exotic, some pretty floral notes as well. Light and perfumed on the palate, that cherry fruit and fine tannins on the finish, but lovely zest, really nice with a slight chill. Really nice little bottle of Pinot Noir for $26 a bottle. Great value. The Pommard, well, Pommard can be a little bit rough when it's young. This wine had a good bit of earth and some smoky bacon fat, black raspberry, fruits, a bit of tannins here, a little rough around the edges, like I said, as Pommard can be when it's young, with a firm hand of acidity. Classic Pommard, but needs a little bit of time. Very good stuff here, though, at $48, under $50 a bottle. The Nuits St. George was a couple people's wine of the night. This wine, after it opened up, really had this lovely dark spice and black earth to it, black raspberry fruit, a hint of smoke as well. You notice the toasty oak in the barrels when these wines are really young. Lots of tannin in this wine on the finish, though. Really lovely freshness, really well built. This wine's built to last. A lot of spice on the finish, too. A really excellent bottle of Nuits St. George. The Vaucraine, my favorite of all the village wines. This village contains 7 Grand Crus, 14 Premier Crus, and the village wine itself can be as good as a lot of the other villages' Premier Crus. Really exotic array of spice here, some fresh flowers, red cherry, wild strawberry fruit. Really plush and silky on the palate. One of the things I love about Vaucraine is the texture on the mouth and a really long, elegant finish in this wine. You can just tell this wine also 5 to 10 years from now, I'd love to have it still. We only got 8 bottles left. I don't know how we're going to have it 5 to 10 years from now. And then the Chambertin, the big boy, and this wine needs a little time. Chambertin being one of my favorite Grand Cru, Chambertin. A lot of exotic spice in this wine. Aromas of raspberry, cherry fruit, light smoke. Smooth and like silk on the palate. Really velvety. And lovely intensity. Almost a raspberry coulis-like fruit on the palate with this resounding acidity and exotic spice. I'd love to have this one in 10 years. And we decided to open up a little 2004 Chambertin. Sorry, Antonio, that was your wine I bought you. That's my son's birth year. But just wanted to show people the evolution in this wine. In 2004, not near as good of a vintage as 2010, but you really start to notice the earth in the wines as these wines age, and the terroir starts to show through that truffly note, really exotic spice, and a little less fruit and a little less intensity of the tannin. You can just tell these 2004s are ready to drink, even some of the upper level ones. But some great stuff. Thanks for the folks who came out, and thank you, Tony, for some fantastic food. The Post House of Riverfish, a classic dish that they do in Burgundy, was fantastic, and the coq au vin with the pork belly, the crispy pork belly, just fabulous with the Pinot. But one thing I have to apologize with: blue cheese does not belong on the table at a Burgundy tasting, and those people that put that on the cheese plate will be fired. I assure you, the people that came to this tasting, that will never happen again. All right, that's what we had to drink at our 2010 tasting. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.